Welcome, everyone, to the Empath podcast series. So, I'm your host, Steph Naval, and today we'll be talking about what are the myths and facts of self care and also how to develop these self care habits. So, our next guest is a registered psychologist. She's a member of the faculty of Psychology Department of DLSU, and she's also a friend of Empath. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Mia Pakingan. So, hi, Mia.
Hi, Steph.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited for our conversation.
Nice. Well, I'm excited also. So, to start things off, can you share with us any myths you'd like to debunk about self care?
I think people think it is something expensive, something glamorous, something Instagrammable, something big, and something that you do when you're burnt out already. So self care is not doesn't have to be those things. It can be like a big trip, but it can be like a simple walk or maybe a shower or just exercising. It can be really, really free, but it serves its purpose, taking care of yourself, providing what you need at the moment. I think that's what self care is.
To add to that, also, I think some people think that self care is something to be guilty about or that it could be a waste of time. Do you have any thoughts about those myths that people have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people feel guilty about doing self care or routines or self care activities, and that can be counterproductive. No, you have all the reason to rest. It's what your body needs, no? And providing it will actually make you more productive. I think no, it can like prepare you to work better. So actually,
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to rest. You're entitled. We are all entitled to rest, and our body needs it.
Mm-hmm. Can you share with our listeners that some people can tell, oh, this is just being lazy or this is actually self care? Do you have any tips or advice on to know the sweet spot of when it's just you being lazy or making excuses, or it's really, yes, this is really necessary and a better investment for my mental health?
I think that's a good question. Also, maybe tricky to answer. Um, First, assess yourself. How are you? How are you really at this moment? Because you may really be experiencing a difficult time, or you may be like also procrastinating. Procrastinating is not necessarily a mental health issue. It can be a motivation issue. Although sometimes also people with mental health issues may feel like they're just being lazy or
Mm.
procrastinating. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing how you are is very, very important. So ask yourself, am I sad today? Or um, why are you putting things off? For example, work, why are you procrastinating? Are you scared of um, the prospect of failing this particular project? That's why you're delaying. No? So if it's because of those thoughts, maybe, well, you should deal with those thoughts. No? So, yeah, maybe a little bit of self-talk or analyzing, are you ready for this? Or if you're not yet ready, what can I do to prepare for this activity so you don't put it off and feel you're just being lazy. I think it's going to the root or to the reason of those feelings. It's understanding yourself, but it's not always easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
It takes time. It takes time and a lot of mindfulness and a lot of
yes.
self forgiveness when you don't perform as you think you should be. No? And it's
Actually,
okay to not be on your prime every time.
that's so true. Yes, I agree with that. I remember my friend, he was talking about before that in order to find a sweet spot, it also has to have good self mastery and self awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So, really understanding, and that takes practice. So, taking practice, and it's
Yeah.
a skill. Like self care, I feel, is also a skill. Having mental health strategies is a skill that you eventually have to, or would be great if you get to develop. Okay, so given these myths, and what are things that we should know about self care or insights that you think would be beneficial for our listeners today?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so self care is very basic. So it's taking care of yourself, right?
Yes.
So that's the whole thing. Self-care, taking care of yourself. No? So the thing is knowing your feelings. No? Why are you feeling burnt out? I think that should be like the first question. How are you? And then what's happening? No? So first, ask yourself, where are these negative feelings coming from? Because we cannot like we can always travel every month to the best sites, and then but then if we don't tackle the problem, we're not actually dealing with the problem. So self care should respond to what you really need. So it's
Mm,
taking care of your needs. For example, self care can be as easy as sleeping on time, which
yes.
can sometimes be hard. No,
Yes, that's true.
yeah, yeah. And for a lot of people, I found out during the past years from like talking to different people,
Mm-hmm.
it's been hard to sleep. And then sometimes sleep, like laying in bed, have become the time when they think about things. Have you experienced that? Like when you lay in bed, automatically you start thinking, no, and you start ruminating, thinking about things you should worry about. No? So self care can be that setting aside a thinking time that is not in bed, because some people they don't have downtimes other than sleeping, especially for like busy people or people who um will avoid thinking about their problems. No? So it shouldn't be that's one. No, sleeping well, that's an easy way we can take care of ourselves and of our needs. No? Going back to self-care, no? So first, ask, what do you need? What are you feeling? So if you're feeling tired, what do you need to do to address that feeling of tiredness or fatigue? You should rest. Maybe check also your nutrition. Are you getting enough nutrition? Nutrition or food doesn't only feed like or fats in the body or things like that. Kasi diba, sometimes people think when they eat, they automatically think, will this make me like, at least for some people who have um, issues with food or eating, will this make me fat? No. But that's not the thing. Food supports your body. It supports also your mental health because it feeds your brain also. No? It supports your productivity and a lot of other things. No? So are you eating well? It doesn't have to be fancy also, but it should just support your needs. No? So if you do a lot of activities, physical activities, well, your diet should support that. Yeah. Also, we should consider would be illnesses or physical problems. No? You may be feeling bad because there might be something wrong with your health. No? So that is something. Being mindful of what you feel in the body. And I think, I don't know, some people don't know when to seek professional help or doctor's help like medical doctor's help. No? So that is also something. If you feel something in the body, don't always just assume it's just nothing. It's just stress. Because sometimes it can also be a physical illness. So we need to address that also. No? What are other things that people like think about?
Ooh, how about unplugging from technology?
Yeah, okay, that's a good thing. So how do you feel when you're on your social media?
Oh
That's good,
my.
no? So
Mm-hmm.
if it's not making you feel good, maybe it's time to unplug.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just filter or curate your experience. No? So maybe unfollowing toxic people. No? Or maybe if you can't because you're protecting your relationship, you now have mute
Yes,
stories
there's
or like
mute.
yeah, no, diba? Social medias have that function. No, or sometimes it actually means detaching from toxic people. No,
That's
socially,
true. Mm-hmm.
no, self-care could mean ending some relationships. As harsh as it may sound, but sometimes if it's not helping you, um, yeah, we may need to end some relationships. hopefully on a good note, or like very discreetly. No, but it's okay to not keep all friendships. I think that's one um fear among Filipinos, because we always want to be liked by other people. No? Yeah, but it's okay to end some friendships. Some friendships are not really meant to last like your whole life, and that's okay. Accepting that it's not a permanent relationship. Sometimes we also have to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with you. I think those are really
Mm-hmm.
great insights. I remember before, I actually wasn't in a very friendly and very healthy environment in terms of relationships a few years ago. And I was advised that sometimes it's okay because I thought I was feeling guilty that I'm being a bad friend, I'm being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case. My life, when I decided to take care of myself and then take myself out of toxic relationships or as much as possible, I felt a lot lighter. And it really was not a selfish thing to do at all. Like, it was something so beneficial. I think maybe even for the both of us. Because if you have so much built on negativity, especially towards that relationship or towards that significant person, then it's not healthy. And it's also not beneficial for the other person as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Or maybe a timeout would be useful
Oh,
for
that's
for
so
both of
true.
you. No, it doesn't mean naman like burning bridges every
Mm-hmm.
time. For some
That's true.
relationship, it may mean that, but for some, it can be a pause. No, it can be a
That
pause.
is
We can still be
true.
friends without constantly texting or talking to each other.
Yeah, that's really true. Like in dosages only with that friend. Sometimes some relationships work really well with that. I've heard of family
Mm-hmm.
relationships who've improved because of space also. As in when they love their parents and I'm sure they love their children, but when they actually moved out and they got even closer for for that very reason because they have certain
Yeah.
amount of space apart, but at the same time they get to bond and to be able to still reach out to each other. So yes, thank you so much. That's a very great insight with self-care and relationships. And also technology. What else? What other types of rest or self-care that we can explore? Or do you have any other more self-care options that people can try?
Well, siguro some people are feeling burnt out or stressed from work. So they have to
Mm-hmm.
also analyze, where is that feeling coming from? Is it from overworking? Like super long hours. Maybe they can do something about that. Sometimes we can do something about that. Sometimes we can't. No,
Mm-hmm.
because well, the truth is there are many factors contributing to like stress at work. But you may want to try like things like negotiating like your work times with your boss. Like um you can email that person if you can just reply within this period of time. Setting
Mm-hmm.
boundaries also, even at work. No, but do it
Mm-hmm.
of course respectfully, and of course considering um also what is appropriate for work, because you can't naman like I cannot accept emails after 12 noon. That's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So also considering or maybe compromising, with your workplace. That's also
Mm-hmm.
something that we should consider. What else pa ba yung mga stressful things at work?
Ooh, what happens if it's difficult to negotiate with your boss or that's not an option for people? Do you have any advice for people on how they can still have self-care or take care of their mental health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, siguro one thing would be making sure yeah, because that's not always possible. Or also, in the Philippine context, it may not be as usual to parang open up to your boss and uh like talk about these things.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what we can do is work with what you can, with what is in your control. For example, you can
Mm-hmm.
schedule your emails at a certain time. For example, not checking emails after 5 o'clock or whatever time it is for you to stop checking emails, and then making sure you get enough sleep, or
Mm-hmm.
working, yeah, maybe fixing your work hours, integrating fun things,
Ooh.
um, is also very important. No? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's always hustle, hustle, hustle. But and then one big self-care activity. It shouldn't be like that.
Ah.
Self-care is not something big. It's something that we integrate into our lives that to prevent burnout. It's not something to treat burnout with. It's something to prevent it. Although sometimes if you're already burnt out, you will need to like treat it as some sort of band-aid. But then after that, you integrate it in your lifestyle. So some of the important things would be um, physical activities. It doesn't have to be a formal workout. It doesn't have to be in a gym. It can just mean like, for
A
example,
walk.
a walk. That's true. No, like a 20-minute walk, if your schedule will permit. Or, for example, you're going to the washroom for a washroom break at home. Maybe if you have like a second floor, or like a
Ah.
toilet in a different floor, maybe
Yeah.
you can go down for your
Yeah.
toilet break rather than going on the same floor. So that would encourage a little bit more movement, especially if you feel like you don't have time for like like a 20-minute block of time, or it
Ah.
could mean like 5 squats before actually peeing or after peeing.
Ooh,
Just
that's so
integrating what
interesting.
you can with the time that you have.
And
That's very,
also,
very important.
yeah, and also the space that you have at home. So some people may have home gyms, but at least with those techniques that you shared, you can still incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think I incorporated it a bit. So what I do is I have my coffee mug that's in another table or in another room. So I go around the house switching places. And then when I have a mug of coffee, so when I want to sip or anything, I have to walk all the way there. And to prevent me
Mm-hmm.
also to take it slowly. But that's something that I can do. So for coffee lovers there, if you want to incorporate that, you
Yeah,
can put your
yeah.
mug in a separate room so you're forced to walk before and get a
Mm-hmm.
little exercise before that.
True, true. Also, those rituals are very important, especially now that most of
Mm.
us are studying and working from home. Like we have to recreate because we lost a lot when the quarantine happened, right? We lost a lot of our routines, a lot of what's familiar, and then we're suddenly at home, and it's the same every day, and it's different. It's just different. No, we lost like physical contact with friends, yeah, and a lot of other things. For example, if you're used to listening to podcasts on your commute or drive to work or school, maybe you can recreate that by like listening to podcasts while before you take a bath or something like that, or after you
Mm.
do, or maybe it's like slowly making your coffee. That could be like a signal to your brain or to yourself that work is about to start. So it's a
Mhm.
formal delineation, not naman a formal, not really formal. It's a signal at least for you that work is about to start, and maybe also another ritual or routine after work. So it will
Mm.
signal that wait lang, work is done for the day. So
Yeah. Actually, that's very interesting because I had another friend who brought up a similar concept and then she called it transitional activities.
mm,
So for transitional activities, it seems signaling,
yeah,
so unwinding time with work. So for me, what I do is I make it dinner time or even a shower right after I shower. I shower in the morning and at night because showers are great. And then
mm-hmm.
so in
True.
the morning, that's my signal that I get to, okay, I'm fresh, I'm ready, I'm pumped, plus my coffee in the other room. That's when I start, that's how I start my day. And then at night, time to unwind and then my hygiene thing and put on my pajamas and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So transitional activities as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Especially now, no, that we're at home a lot.
So, how about for those who have a lack of energy or can't even bring themselves to go for a 20-minute walk? Do you have any other suggestions of activities that are very simple for them to try?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, maybe like don't expect self care to be like 20 minutes. If it feels like a 5 minute walk today, it can be a 5 minute walk. If it just
Mhm.
means like fixing your room, that can be, you know. But for some people who may be suffering from depression, for example, it will be very, very difficult to do things. Even just getting out of bed can be really difficult. So we understand that, but also well, part of tackling depression, or at least that side of depression, would be just doing it also, and then finding out, hopefully you they find out the benefits of like moving, no? But it will feel
Mm.
really, really uncomfortable, so it needs a little bit of maybe like determination and really trying it out to see what exercising, for example, may bring. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really pushing yourself. Some days maybe hard, no, or harder than the others. If it's not today, also don't beat yourself up. Like, and
That's
then
true.
because that beating yourself up can be like a reason for not doing it tomorrow. Okay, or I just won't do it because I can't. It's also self care also means forgiving yourself for times when you can't
Yeah.
take care of yourself. I think that's important. Setting up expectations that are not too high also, but not also too low. No, and forgiving yourself when you can't today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's very insightful because I do have friends who have a difficult time, although they acknowledge self care is important, but it's really just getting over that first hurdle. Actually, I just thought
Mm-hmm.
now, how do you feel about, let's say, an accountability buddy for people who have lack of energy?
Yeah, that will help. Like
Mm-hmm.
social pressure, a bit of social pressure, not too much, but
Mm-hmm.
having someone that you can work out with, or someone who can just remind you, would be great. That would
Mm-hmm.
be great. Also, pala lessening friction, or lessening the barriers to doing your self care. So if you want to walk, maybe you can prepare like what you wanted to wear for the walk, so it won't be like you won't make a lot of decisions now when you're about to do it, so it will be easier, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
for you to do that during that time.
Hey there, it's Steph Naval. If you're interested on leveling up your mental health and overall well-being, please follow our podcast to get free psychoeducational content. See you again in the next episode, and let's continue to advocate mental health care access for all.